Thank you, Misha. Good morning, everybody. Thank you for joining us today. Later today, Paul LePage, who is once again running for governor in Maine, will be joined by Virginia Governor Glenn Youngkin for a campaign fundraiser in Lewiston. So at first glance, the two men might seem like an odd pairing. However, there's more in common between the two of them than meets the eye. Namely, they are both far-right extremists who are pushing policies that threaten the fundamental freedoms of the people in their states. So before the two of them get together this afternoon, we thought it would be great to team up with our friends from the Virginia Democrats to make clear just how dangerous these two men actually are. Paul LePage was governor of Maine for 8 long years. He spent that time insulting and attacking the people of our state. He stirred up controversy after controversy, making derogatory remarks, ranging from things like saying that, quote, people of color are the enemy, to telling the NAACP that it could, quote, kiss my butt. And as you know, he even told me when I was in the state legislature that he wanted to shoot me right between the eyes. But Paul LePage didn't stop at attacking Maine people with his words. He also targeted us with his policies. He blocked healthcare access for more than 90,000 Mainers. He pushed up property taxes and cut funding for municipal services like schools, police, EMS, and fire. And he did that in order to pay for tax cuts for the wealthiest Mainers. And he waged a constant war on some of the most vulnerable people in our state, from the LGBTQ plus community to abortion patients to Mainers suffering from substance use disorder. And now, of course, after 4 years away on vacation in Florida, he's coming back home and is telling people he wants to be governor again. So far during this campaign, Paul LePage has tried to pretend that somehow he's a changed man, that he's no longer the guy who attacked us Mainers with his words and his actions and his policies for 8 years. But it's clearly not true. And campaigning alongside Governor Youngkin is just the latest example of how obvious it is that he really hasn't changed at all. And you're going to hear from my counterpart, Chair Swecker, that since taking office last year, Governor Youngkin has pursued exactly the same kind of harmful policies that really defined Paul LePage's time in office here in Maine. If Paul LePage had really changed, he wouldn't associate himself with politicians that are attacking teachers, that are attacking LGBTQ plus people, and that are threatening abortion rights. The fact that he is embracing Governor Youngkin, along with other right-wing governors like Ron DeSantis and Greg Abbott, really tell you all you need to know. So I'm going to pass it over to Chair Swecker now, but one final comment before I do. When Glenn Youngkin ran for governor last year, he did everything he could to turn the conversation away from his unpopular stance on abortion rights. However, as you'll hear today, now that he's governor in Virginia and Roe v. Wade has been overturned, he's pushing hard to criminalize abortion in Virginia. Paul LePage is currently engaged in exactly the same kind of dance, trying to take attention away from his draconian views on abortion rights. Make no mistake, if he's given the chance, he will follow in Governor Youngkin's footsteps. He knows it's not what Maine people want, but frankly, he doesn't care. And we cannot let him take away our rights. So now it's an honor for me to be able to turn it over to Chair Swecker from Virginia.
Thank you, Drew, so much. Look, folks, today, all of our state legislators are back in Richmond doing the job that they were elected to do, conducting the business of our Commonwealth. And where is our governor? Once again, he's out of state. This time, he's eating lobster rolls with an unabashed racist, Paul LePage. I mean, it's clear that Governor Youngkin is far more interested in spending time in Richmond, Maine than Richmond, Virginia. It's bad enough he's on his nationwide presidential tour, but to make matters worse, he's standing shoulder to shoulder with a man who said he would deck one of our own and has made blatantly racist comments. If you want to know someone's character, look at the friends he keeps. LePage has said, the enemy right now is people of color. LePage has said the NAACP should apologize to the white people. to the people from the North for fighting their battle. LePage has said people of color are coming to Maine to impregnate white women. That's disgusting. But what's even worse is that earlier this week, Governor Youngkin lied and said he was totally unaware of LePage's comments. Now that he's aware of his comments, though, he still chooses to campaign for Paul LePage. If there was any doubt before, they now know that Governor Youngkin isn't some mild-mannered vest sweater wearing moderate. He's another far-right culture warrior. And to all the Mainers, don't let this LePage in a red vest fool you for 1 second. Mainers know all too well the kind of divisive politics that Glenn Youngkin tried to hide on the campaign trail. He tried at all costs to avoid talking about how he was going to rip away decades of women's rights and ban abortion in the Commonwealth. He knew his position on abortion was out of touch and too extreme for Virginians, so he tried to hide it. And then right when he gets in office, what does he do? He pushes for an abortion ban that is so out of touch and too extreme for Virginians. And said, get this, said that he will gleefully sign any abortion ban that hits his desk. Don't let Paul LePage do the same thing. So while Glenn Youngkin sets off to win enough Trump primary voters to be considered his boss's vice presidential nominee in 2024, we are standing together with our friends and colleagues in Maine to make sure that both Mainers and the nation know that those divisive politics have no home in the future we're building together. Thank you for being here, and I will turn it now over to someone who is in Richmond today doing the job he was elected to do, Leader Don Scott.
Thank you for having me. I'm so grateful to be here. I understand y'all's pain up there in Maine. We have our own wacko governor here. So we're trying to deal with the things that you guys have already dealt with. Sounds like for 8 years, we're going through it now. Our governor has been on the job for about 8 months now. He's probably spent more time in Arlington, Texas than he has in Arlington, Virginia, because he's spending most of his time going around trying to let everybody know how unqualified he is to not only be governor of Virginia, but also how unqualified he is and radical to be president of the United States. He spends most of his time basically being a sycophant for the former President Trump and letting folks know that he will, there is no line that he won't cross for Trump's love and affection. And part of that is to go to Maine. Now, gratefully for me, just last week, I was in Maine. I was downtown Portland, a beautiful area, beautiful city, and beautiful folks there. Learned a lot about Maine and Mainers. It was my wife and I's first time there. We had a great time. And to learn and read about former Governor LePage was amazing and shocking. And I learned that he was Trump before Trump. And, he was outrageous before Trump became mainstream, to make it outrageous to be a MAGA sycophant. And so it's amazing to me that while I am sitting in Richmond, our governor is there gallivanting around, trying to prove to extreme MAGA voters that he is qualified. So he is there campaigning with former Governor LePage, who, as a person of color, it's offensive to know that the governor of Virginia would go and campaign with someone who literally said these words. You can't make this stuff up, that people of color are his enemy. And I recall reading it in context where he was speaking to another member there and said, hey, you were in the military. What did we do to our enemies? We shoot them. And I was like, he's still governor? And so I'm trying to figure out how he got back into this position. But it's more, to me, disrespectful to the good people of the Commonwealth of Virginia that Governor Youngkin would feel comfortable going to campaign with him. Now, initially, he says that he didn't understand. He didn't know who this governor, who was governor of Maine, was for 8 years now. So I want to know what political novices that he has on his consulting team that's helping him in his presidential run. And they didn't know who Governor LePage was. So I don't believe that. But now you couple it with the fact that now he does know exactly who he is and everything that he said. And do you think that he would back away and say, you know what, that's not part of who I am. That's not part of my, because he claims to be a man of faith. That's not part of my faith message. But not only does he not back away from that, he continues to run towards Maine. He runs towards this extremism and radicalism and this attack on people like myself, people of color. And so I'm hopeful that the people of Maine will reject this. Mainers will reject this radicalism. And I'm hopeful that the people of the Commonwealth of Virginia will just ask the governor to come home to do the job he was elected to do only 8 months ago. Nobody hires someone for a new job and 8 months in, they're never at work and they're traveling all over the company on a company dime to be able to pander to MAGA primary voters. So I'm hopeful that he will come back and do his job. And I'm grateful to be here this morning. Thank you.
Senator Carney up next. Yeah, thank you.
Hi, good morning, everyone. I'm Ann Carney. I represent Senate District 29, and I also serve as Senate Chair of the Judiciary Committee. Our jurisdiction includes constitutional, medical, and reproductive rights. When the U.S. Supreme Court overturned Roe versus Wade and eliminated the constitutional right to an abortion, I immediately wanted to reassure Mainers that our rights to medical privacy and abortion care were safe. But I couldn't because the risks are very real for us. Since 1993, our State Reproductive Privacy Act has protected abortion rights in Maine, but these rights are constantly under threat. Over the past 2 years, the Judiciary Committee heard 6 bills attempting to repeal reproductive rights or to create barriers for receiving abortion care. Each of these proposals sought to make it harder for Maine people to exercise their right to an abortion and for them to make deeply personal decisions. We rejected a bill that would have made it harder for Mainers with lower income to afford an abortion. We rejected a bill that would have required medically unnecessary tests in an effort to intimidate patients. We rejected a bill that would have forced doctors and nurses to give patients false information about a dangerous medication marketed as an abortion reversal drug, even though it was considered unethical by the American Medical Association. And finally, we rejected an especially hurtful and heartbreaking bill that would have intruded on the grief that's sometimes part of pregnancy by requiring a woman experiencing a miscarriage or having an abortion to collect fetal remains and provide individual burial or cremation. Failure to do so would have been a felony. During the public hearing, the committee heard testimony from a mother who lost her child and vehemently opposed this bill. The financial burden it would have imposed on top of the overwhelming grief is something that families just shouldn't have to go through. These proposals would have forced doctors and nurses to violate well-established standards of medical care. They would have taken away our fundamental rights as Americans and Mainers to make our own healthcare decisions. They would have endangered the health of pregnant people and overburdened them with expenses, and they may even have sent women to jail. All of this, of course, is on the line again in November. With Democratic majorities in the House and Senate, we've been able to defeat bills attacking reproductive rights. And even more than that, we've worked to expand access to abortion care, improve contraception coverage, and strengthen healthcare coverage for prenatal and postpartum care. But every legislator faces re-election this year. All the protections in place and all the progress we've made could disappear depending on who voters send to Augusta. Mainers, we all deserve a Senate and a House that will defend the right to abortion and ensure that we can decide if and when we want to start a family. By sending Democrats back to the House and Senate, you don't have to take our word that will protect your rights. We have a track record that speaks for itself. Mainers also deserve to know whether our governor will uphold Maine's Reproductive Privacy Act and protect abortion rights. I've served with Governor Mills for 4 years. Her words and actions are clear and consistent. She supports reproductive privacy and the right to abortion. The risk of losing our rights is real. On November 8th, we'll either re-elect a staunch defender of reproductive rights, or we'll return to the Blaine House, a man who claims he doesn't have time to talk about abortion. We all deserve to know whether our governor will turn back the clock on Mainers' rights to reproductive privacy and abortion care. We all deserve to have our rights protected. Thank you.
Okay, thank you.